Good afternoon and welcome to this edition of QA Financial's 2021 Vision series of online seminars on the key topics and challenges that financial firms are facing in software quality management in this still new year. I hope I can say that. My name is Matthew Crabb. I'm the CEO of QA Media. And we have a great panel today, I have to say. The topic is API development and testing, with a particular focus on the transition to the cloud and the management of data, which is a key challenge we know for all financial firms, given the privacy requirements that parallel open banking legislation, PSD2, the open banking legislation, and I guess GDPR and other privacy rules around the world. We're going to be talking about compliance and also the technology challenges, particularly around data management, as I mentioned. So our panelists are Nikhil Varghese, who's joining us from New York. He's at Sterling National Bank. And as with our other panelists, Nikhil will be telling you a little bit more about himself, his role when he first speaks in a minute. We have Koen Adolfs from AMRO, and he's joining us from Utrecht. Filipe Teixeira from Illimity, the Italian challenger bank, which has a focus on the SME marketplace. And Filipe is joining us from Milan. And from here in the UK, Chay Thornhill from Delphix. And Delphix is the gold sponsor of our event today. Broadcom is our series sponsor, and I'd like to thank them both very much, because without them and without their support, the series isn't possible. Now, if you want to learn more about Delphix and what Delphix does, you go back to your timeline after this event, after the panel session, which will last about 50 minutes or so. Top left, you'll see return to my timeline, top left of your screen. And when you click on that, you can then have the option of visiting our virtual exhibition. Delphix has a stand there. And in addition to videos and other white paper technical content they've posted there, you can also click a blue button, which will help you set up a meeting, a one-to-one meeting, if you want to talk to Delphix about what they do. So I encourage you to do that. Also, very importantly, we will be leaving time for questions and answers, your Q&A, at the end of the discussion. Anytime between now and then, if you would like to write a question, to the right of your screen, you'll see the live Q&A button. Just click on that, and you can write your question. Please do send any questions, and perhaps lending your own experience to the question, contextualizing it, be very valuable for us. We're going to hear about a lot of different things over the next 50 minutes or so. So please, if you have a question about anything you hear, send it in. Finally, you'll see to the top right of your screen a help button. If you have any requirement for technical assistance, if you're having any kind of problem, please click on that. We have staff who can help you. Although one key recommendation is that you use Chrome as the browser for these events. The platform we use is really optimized for Chrome. So those are my introductions. I'd like to start with you, Nikhil. Thank you again for joining us from the US, where developments in open banking very much parallel what is happening here in Europe, but without, of course, the same legislation. Please tell us a little bit more about yourself, your role at Sterling, and the challenges you're facing in accelerating API delivery.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you for inviting me to join the seminar by QA Financial. I manage API platforms at Sterling National Bank. And for those of you who are not familiar with Sterling, we are a bank based out of the New York metropolitan area. And we are a very old bank, more than 100 years old. And as with any traditional bank, we also had a challenge of migrating to open banking and also in promoting our API platform. I would say at this point in time, banks across the United States are grappling with a challenge posed by fintech, whereby they're seeing fintech not as a challenge anymore, but then fintech as an opportunity. And in this regard, Sterling, as an organization, has decided we would offer our infrastructure to third-party applications to build applications on. So the offering we would give the third-party applications, which is called banking as a service, this would enable them to create applications on top of our infrastructure. So this would mean that we as a bank are seeing fintech as an opportunity. We want fintech to partner with us, and that's the reason why we are exposing these APIs. Now, as part of our future strategy for 2021 and beyond, banking as a service is a cornerstone. Now, when I come to think about the challenges we are facing and the challenges which are going to happen in this adoption of APIs as a cornerstone of our future strategy, one key thing here is, how do we get the applications to build on top of what we are offering? What can we offer them? I mean, one simple thing which comes to anyone's mind when we talk about open banking is, okay, let's give them transaction data, let's give them account data, but then can this be secured? Can a third-party application who builds on our infrastructure access account details of a customer who is not associated with them? So these are the security risks. These are the risks which we would need to answer as things move on. Now, regarding the service that's offering, which is called banking as a service, I would say BaaS. This is a new phenomenon which is taking hold in the United States, whereby banks are telling fintech companies, we want to partner with you. We want to offer you a platform. We would offer you a developer portal where you can request access to our APIs, build on top of it, and then we could either adopt a licensing model whereby you pay us a fee. It could be a subscription-based model or a usage-based model. These things are still being worked on. I would say this is still evolving in the United States. I'm assuming that this is a little more advanced in Europe as of now. So that's where we stand with respect to open banking. And regarding the challenges, yes, the biggest challenge is to have developers adopt the APIs which we build and which we offer them. Now, here is the key thing. What can we offer the developers? Can we expose wire APIs? Maybe not quite so. Can we expose account APIs? Maybe only for the customers they bring on. So then the question comes, how do we differentiate between the customers we have and the customers the third-party applications bring on? So these are the challenges, I would say, which are facing any bank which is moving towards open banking. Now, I would also like to highlight the role of APIs here, and also on the cloud itself. APIs for the bank to be adding value would need to be fast, would need to have response times way less than compared to any service which is being exposed. This brings us to a question of how fast can these APIs provide data? And that's where the importance of cloud comes into picture. When APIs were first introduced, cloud itself was a relatively new concept. Cloud adoption was starting, but then at a very slow pace. But the moment cloud adoption started gathering pace, you also could see that the API response times began improving a lot. Like, we were dealing with a situation where an API response time would be somewhere in the range of 100 milliseconds to even more than 1 second. That is not something which a third-party application can live with. So with the adoption of cloud, we have seen that the response times coming from the APIs have reduced drastically. And when we are dealing with data sets which amount to tens of thousands and even hundreds of thousands of transactions per minute, yes, exactly, yes, having cloud power the backend services would make APIs a lot more efficient and faster.
Thank you, Nikhil. Can I ask you about, so you're offering, if you like, a white label wealth management service to which you can distribute through in partnerships with fintechs and presumably smaller banks and credit unions, for example. and you've talked about the technical requirements, the challenge of APIs whose response time is quicker. You're setting new standards. You're transitioning this. This is in the midst of this transition to the cloud. What about privacy requirements and data management requirements? Because presumably the other challenges are testing connectivity with your new partners and also the management of their data. I mean, how are you addressing that?
That's a good question. When we think about data management, apart from storing the data in cloud, another challenge we have is data retrieval. Now, of course, cloud services, whether it is Amazon, whether it is Azure, they, of course, offer a very easy way of retrieving data. But then what usually happens is there are legal and compliance requirements about storing certain kind of data in the cloud. And that is where the challenges come in for any US-based bank, or I would say even European banks. Now, this is where we would have to move, we would have to think about a hybrid solution rather than a cloud-only solution. So we would need to keep some amount of data on the on-prem servers, but we also need to make sure that the on-prem servers, perform as well as the cloud, which is most of the case, that does not happen. Now, that being said, that is a challenge. And I would say the banks are still in the process of addressing that. But as of now, I would say a hybrid solution is the way to go.
Okay. Nikhil, thank you very much. We'll come back to you in a while. Koen, ABN AMRO, I've heard, I know is your journey down the route to the cloud is very, very well advanced. In terms of your agenda for open banking in 2021 and API delivery, what are the challenges that you face?
What are the challenges we face? So just as a short introduction for those of you that don't know ABN AMRO is one of the 3 major banks in the Netherlands. We serve multiple business lines of private banking, corporate banking, retail banking, and are working on an international basis. And our journey in APIs is quite advanced and quite long already. If I look at the open banking APIs, so open APIs, our journey started definitely with the PSD2 regulation in 2014, when that regulation was being formed, and the first time that we learned about it, then it was like, oh, that's interesting. Let's take a look. And a lot of people, were frightened about the possibilities of third parties accessing payment information. But what you now see over time is that the bank, once we invested in the capabilities to provide these compliance APIs, so developer portal, API gateway, the people you need to run a platform to support customers. We also learned we can use the same technology for different purposes, and we have a successful payment requests application. It's called Tiki, and it has been used as a app by 7 million users in the Netherlands already. And we saw with the API the possibility to also service corporates that want to send automated payment requests. And that has been quite a useful journey to see also how can we use the open API technology for our own strategies. The next step that we invested in the last year especially is we also launched API products for corporates so that they can automate their processes in their own applications. So we have the business account insight, business account notification, business account payments APIs, the foreign exchange trade as well. And with those APIs, you can build interesting combinations into your own accounting software or in your bookkeeping software or CRM systems. And we see interesting use cases coming up from car dealers, from DHL, so delivery companies, for instance, and especially in these Corona times where everything is becoming more digital, that creativity is definitely being boosted. So for the open APIs, the agenda is definitely to motivate more corporates to use these APIs, see what they can build with it, learn how to sell those stories as well, so that we can inspire others to do the same, and improving things like onboarding and our support. We are already, from all the banks in the world, compared by InnoPay, we are the first on the documentation that we provide, and third in the community that we provide on our platform. So that's very nice. Yeah, one last, and that's an interesting journey as well. We are now quite advanced with the open APIs, and of course we were building internal APIs already for many years. The interesting part is now that what we learned externally is how important and great it is when product owners really say the APIs as products. And it's logically when you are creating open APIs, but if you are looking into your internal APIs, then you see that's a culture and a mindset change for a lot of teams and product owners as well, to become more technical. So business product owners need to consider internal APIs also as their products. And that's an interesting journey that we're currently pushing and motivating into the company. That is helpful for our digital journey internally with our mobile banking app, with internet banking, but in the end we'll also push more open APIs, hopefully in the future. Okay,
and so with such a large bank, with an international bank, internal and customer-facing APIs, a very complex challenge. But do you have benchmarks for the speed of delivery of APIs and how best practice in API development is communicated across the bank? I mean, do you have any particular objectives in this year for accelerating delivery, for example? And how are you going to do it?
Yeah, that's definitely the case. And if you see, if you take a look at the open APIs, then teams that are really dedicated in building those APIs, you see that they are able to speed up as they understand the subject matters. New features are added more easily. Documentation is of a higher quality, and there's more push around those open API products externally. If you look internally, I think that we are doing an okay job, but we can still take a big leap in that. And actually, you shared about what are the KPIs, the things that you want to improve upon. And that's definitely how can we get rid of hurdles, create the right mindset and skills internally for everybody to build good APIs. And that's investing in e-learnings, investing in training, removing hurdles in processes, creating right integration patterns that everybody can reuse. And it's quite a lot of work still to do in that part. So actually this year is an interesting year in that regard, because we are really forming an API culture within the bank, involve everybody to make those steps and monitor our progress in that.
And what would you say, just finally, Koen, are the key technology challenges that you still have to really overcome? I mean, do they involve testing, for example, and data management?
Yeah, the interesting part is it's not one technology thing that we need to overcome, because we as a bank, we have an internal API gateway, we have an external API gateway, we have an internal, external portals, an enterprise service bus, all the integration paths are there. But being a big bank, there is also the move to DevOps, the move to cloud, the rebuilding websites, etc. So there's implementing CI/CD pipelines into the teams. So teams are working on a lot. And then how do you create a good journey for those teams, a logical journey for those teams to come from A to B? Are you first going to build that API, or are you first going to move as is to cloud and then rebuild things on the platform that you are at? And that's not a journey that you can say like this is the standard journey for everybody. It really depends on the application and the path that you're at. And that's also part of that culture. It's not only about technology, it's about implementing the mindset, and the instructions and support, and having the right technology is not difficult. It's how do you use it and how do you bring a good path? That is the challenge.
Okay, Koen, thank you very much. Filipe, thank you very much for joining us from, I guess you're in Milan. Now, I guess that it's likely that quite a few of our audience may not have come across Illimity before. So if you don't mind, I know you're the CIO, would you mind by starting by telling us a little about Illimity and your marketplace, and you know what your objectives are this year in terms of building out your API and banking service.
Okay. First of all, I'm very glad to be here with you. As you mentioned before, maybe Illimity is also not well known on the market. We are a very young bank that was created in Q4 2018. We are more than a challenger bank. We like to define ourselves as a new predict bank, because we do, of course, three kind of business: retail banking, digital retail banking. We do lending to small and medium enterprises, and then we manage distressed credits from non-performing loans or unlikely to pay loans, essentially both from let's say larger banks. We are fully digital. We do not have any kind of branches. And as a CIO, I was very fortunate 2 years ago to have this challenge, because I had the opportunity to start a new, let's say, information system from scratch. So I had the opportunity to build and to born in cloud. So we did not have to face the challenges of cloud migration. We were born based on DevOps, CI/CD, let's say, practices. And we built in 2 years a very simple architecture, which is done on three layers. The first one is the one that is integrated with third parties services and applications. Having a very lean structure and bank, because we are more or less 500 employees in the bank, around 60 people in IT. The focus was to really focus on what is strategic for the business of the bank. So we are integrated with through APIs with third-party services. It can be cards, it can be fintechs, it can be some core banking functionalities, but also non-financial partners, like we are integrated with green mobility in Milan, with wellness applications, a lot of applications, and all these third parties applications are integrated through API layers, for an API layer on which we built our business logic and our data architecture. All the data that is managed by third parties are replicated on real time for some cases, T+1 for other cases, or on a weekly basis for other use cases. On this data lake, which is a single point of truth of data for the whole company. And on top of that, we have a second API layer on which we built our digital touchpoints, internet banking, mobile banking, but also, let's say, the corporate systems for managed credit for lending or factoring or other products we manage for the bank. So the API and the data centricity are at core of the business of the bank, because we need to manage data in a very simple way, in a very fast way. So we are integrated both with external systems, but also internal systems only through APIs. And we try to implement it in terms of data democratization for all the functions, for all the business on the bank to be able to access data with a very high level of trust index. I call it trust index of the data in order to take decisions in a very fast way.
Okay, and in terms of, thank you, and in terms of, you mentioned you launched 2018. Where are you on the curve of your journey in terms of building out your platform, and what are your key objectives for this year?
We start in Q4 2018, and 10 months later, the first version of the whole information system was completed. We were the first bank in Italy completely in cloud, and based on the practices that are, let's say, the best practice on the market for implementing software, we were able to have a very lean implementation, straight to business and straight to the focus of the company, that allowed us only 1 year later to allow the bank to reach its break-even. So in Q4 2018, we launched the bank. And when I say we launched the bank, I mean, we did not have internet in office. There is no computers for the employees. We were 15 employees in the office. 4 quarters later, 1 year later, we reached our break-even. And then we have, despite the COVID crisis, we had a very, let's say, steady increase in terms of revenue and final results. Where do we stand right now? We have, let's say, the first version of the information system that is in production, but we are very focused on the let's say, I call it the API economy. We need to complete our offering, and not only with financial partners, because we are a Illimity bank, but we offer loans from other banks. We offer personal loans from other banks, but also from some fintechs. And so we try to complete our offering with external partners for banking services, with insurance partners, with insurance fintechs or insurance players, but also with non-financial partners that are able to bring also data and experience, that we try to offer a different experience both for corporate and retail services.
And as you say, you're the first bank in Italy to be entirely in the cloud. Are there some 1 or 2 recommendations you make to other banks in Italy about that transition? I mean, what did you learn? What, for example, was the biggest obstacle that you had to overcome?
So I would say, let's say 3 points. One is the first one is a surprise, because first before that, I was convinced that having the whole information system of a bank in cloud could be a problem with regulators. But if you find the right partner and you define a clear strategy with the regulator challenged us not on the fact that we go to cloud, but on the fact that we have the right skills in the company to manage an information system in cloud. That means that you need to have the right security team with the right mindset.
Yeah.
You need to find the cloud engineers that are able to work on a, let's say, banking background. And so you have to be able to combine these different skills that are coming from different backgrounds in order to build a new kind of infrastructure for a bank. And so this is the first point. The second point, when I was always convinced on that regarding the cloud roadmap, is that, okay, many times banks look at cloud as a cost reduction. It might be, but it's not the main point. The main point of cloud is that you have complexity managed by someone else, and that is really its core business is to do cloud infrastructure for customers like we are, and our services is a basis of their reputation. And so they invest billions, millions of dollars every year to provide this infrastructure. And so not so the cost reduction, but it's a gate on innovation that is absolutely fantastic. Yeah. Because you have, without doing almost nothing, you have software that is evolving. And right now, let's say the three main providers of cloud engineers do not have a lock-in. They have market products, cloud market products that they provide, and this software is managed and put at the service of the customers, that you can use the last version of a specific database or specific engine for artificial intelligence. And so you have a real gate on innovation. And the first one is you can try, fail without big consequences for your organization. If you start a project and then your business change the idea and they want to cancel the project, or if you took wrong decisions to start a software in production, you simply cancel it. You do not have a decision that has a very strong impact in time, because everything is virtual. So you have 10 machines, 10 virtual machines, 20 virtual machines. You realize it's not what you definitely need. You can simply shut off the machines and start again. So it allows you innovation, prototypation, experiencing something new.
It's really interesting. And the point you made earlier, a very important point about how, while the European Union has created the open banking landscape with PSD2, it's actually the job of regional, local, national regulators like the Banca d'Italia to ensure that banks actually have the right processes and security and technology to actually do open banking. Yes. So there's a little bit of a tension there. I expect that you're invited to speak quite a lot at banking events in Italy to explain exactly how it works.
Yes, we, as I told you, the regulation regarding the PSD2 was launched in September 2019. The 12th September of 2019, it was the exact date where we launched our, let's say, direct banking and mobile application, and we were born PSD2 compliant. And when you look at this new way of doing banking, and you start to integrate third-party application, you start to exchange data from your customers. When I say that you have to have the right mindset for cybersecurity, it's because if there is a problem, if there is a breach, you need to have the right involvement of your third party, because it takes the cybersecurity, the compliance, the GDPR to a very next level in terms of complexity to be managed.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Filipe. Chay, Delphix is a data management specialist. You've heard our three panelists from three different financial firms, different banks. how do the observations they've made compare with what you see across your client base? And we've heard about some key challenges there. What do you think the solutions are?
Yeah, well, thanks, Matthew. Yeah, they resonate, greatly. Firstly, maybe if I just do a brief introduction to myself and Delphix.
Sure.
So, hi, everybody. So I'm Chay Thornhill, and I lead the solutions engineering team at Delphix for EMEA. And really, it's about ensuring our customers understand the full potential of Delphix and how it can drive digital transformation. I've just been about 2 years now at Delphix, and prior to that, I've worked at various financial services and investment banks, managing data services teams. And actually, I was a customer for 5 years at Fidelity International before I joined Delphix. So at Delphix, we are really passionate about unlocking the data potential for companies across the globe, and helping every company transform into a data company. And that's very much our vision for 2021. And if you like, the secure automated delivery of data at speed and scale is key to achieving this. And that's why data needs to be both programmable and API driven. So Delphix provides an API first data platform that can span multi-cloud or on-prem. It doesn't matter where the data is or where the data resides. And we support, as I say, we support all applications and data all the way through from cloud native data sources all the way through to the mainframe. And so we automate a range of critical, complex data operations, including compliance with privacy regulations, for example, GDPR, with our masking solution. And so, yeah, very much the challenges that Nikhil, Koen, and Filipe have talked about today resonate very greatly with our customers. They're very much in our sweet spot, I suppose, in how we help drive digital transformation for our customers.
And you mentioned one thing there. You mentioned masking data, which is obviously a key requirement of, in terms of privacy and security. What are the options between masking and synthesizing data, and why do firms go down one route rather than the other?
It's a very good question. Generally speaking, our customers or people that we, teams that we work with, they're doing synthetic data because it's very difficult to use full production data that's secure in their non-production environments. Now, obviously, you can probably realize that using real production data, you're going to get much better results from your application development and testing than if you're creating data. So what we see generally is that, actually shifting left, so discovering data-related defects earlier in the testing cycle is obviously very beneficial, so that you're protecting your production environment and ensuring that, reduce the amount of production outages. For example, we've actually seen by using Delphix, we've reduced defects in UAT by around 50%, and actually more importantly, 70% in production.
Okay. And what would you say are, as we've heard, a key shared objective is to accelerate the delivery of APIs and to accelerate the upgrade times for APIs. What are the things that you see your clients doing to achieve that?
Okay, so working with our customers, data is always the slowest part of the application delivery value chain. So especially when you're implementing DevOps principles and creating CI/CD pipelines. So utilizing, full application quality production data, as I said before, that's secure, that's going to lead to a lot better, quality delivery and really drive acceleration of any programs, including, open banking and APIs. So, we've helped our customers along their DevOps journey by showing how easy it is to automate data delivery through APIs, as well as integrating with other software solutions. So, we effectively address any data-related bottlenecks. So our customers, for example, delivering open banking solutions, we provide faster, lighter, safer data. On average, we accelerate application development, transformation, and automation by about 40% generally. And so optimizing the delivery of secure data in an automated fashion to accelerate API development and testing is very much, in our Delphix's sphere of influence. So, a good example of why APIs for data is so prevalent and critical for our customers can be explained by the fact that when we demonstrate to prospects and customers of Delphix that how we want to integrate into CI/CD pipelines rather than use our user interface to control their data. So more and more often we're doing demonstrations of Delphix and we're showing how very easily you can integrate in Jenkins, for example. To be specific, we can enable the refreshing of data in a non-production environment prior to running an automated test, for example. We can also help spin up new copies in the cloud, run a test and then tear it down again. So very much that ephemeral environment, aspect to development and testing. We also have some excellent features in our platform, self-service features like rewind, refresh, bookmark, and branching of data. And so we provide these self-service capabilities to data consumers, be it developers, testers, or data scientists. And so, as I said before, really, our API-first platform, and that's everything in Delphix is fully API'd. We provide these data controls fully automated. So you could probably see how we can accelerate critical projects and programs, driving innovation, and ultimately helping our customers gain competitive advantage in their industries, similar to as we've heard today.
Okay, thanks very much. We've had a couple of questions, which I thought I'd put now as they kind of relate to comments that our panelists have made. We do have a question for you, Nikhil, because predominantly our audience today is based in Europe, but obviously clearly Sterling is a US bank.
Yes.
They're familiar with the EU legislation. And somebody's asked, what are the laws in the United States about open banking? A very general question. But as I understand it, it's a principle that's been set out by regulators like the OCC. Are there laws about it? And of course, the other issue is privacy laws vary from state to state, don't they? And the Californian laws most recently are the most stringent. So are those the sort of de facto standard for privacy rules in the US?
That is correct. So as far as privacy is concerned in the United States, it varies from state to state. So it's more about state regulation rather than about any legislation related to open banking. And as you mentioned, open banking is more of a concept than legislation. And when we say open banking, the term itself means that these are standards which the bank has to adhere to voluntarily to provide an interface on which third-party applications can build upon. So I would say regarding regulation, that totally depends on which state the bank is based out of.
Okay. And in terms of the actual privacy requirements, are they similar to those that we have in Europe in terms of?
So that's a good question. Related to privacy standards, yes, going so far as the fact that most of the US regulations align with the EU standards. There could be some differences which I'm not fully aware of, but it's, I would say, related to standards, yes, it would align with most of what you have in the European Union.
There's sorry to interrupt. There's a few, for example, CCPA, which is the Californian set of regulations, quite similar to GDPR. What's happening in the US really is these are developing state by state, so they're having a slightly different take. But yeah, they're very similar, and that's one of the key things for our customers is the security of of data, making sure for example, no unsecured data is reaching the development and test environments.
Yeah, just to follow on what Chay was mentioning, related to data management, we are seeing data being masked, which is that, when the data is being sent, some part of the data or all part of the data would be masked so that, there is no way, wherever the data will be sent, they can retrieve what the original data was.
Yeah, it's irreversible. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
We had another question, which is actually I've been asked to put to you, Koen, which is really you did address this, but perhaps you don't mind just going over a little bit again. What are your targets in terms of new APIs for 2021? And I guess that's a very general question, but maybe I can put a little focus on it. Are you reducing, for example, the total number of APIs across different parts of the ABN AMRO group? Are you going to be unifying in some respect your API offering? Are there different? We heard from Filipe about non-financial partners. I mean, is that an objective?
The way I see it, APIs is an enabler in every way of the word. Or it should enable ABN AMRO to innovate faster with a partner, or it should allow a customer to automate stuff, to integrate something, or it should help a fintech to create a situation where both ABN AMRO customers and the fintech and ABN AMRO is improving the situation of the market upon. Or, of course, the internal API landscape is helping us to boost business, untangle IT, or streamline cooperation between teams. In any way, you need to create a landscape that is fostering that boost business, untangle IT, streamline cooperation. With a good portfolio of APIs. If I look at our open API portfolio, we are currently deep diving with corporate customers. What are things and struggles that you're having, and what are things that you would like to automate? So it's really business development in a similar way as you would look into mobile banking, and which functionalities would you like to have in a mobile banking app. Now it's an API, and how can we help you with our new digital products? So that's a new skill to learn, and also to build our portfolio. And that's done in a very granular way. And you see some banks like, here is our full API portfolio, everything that we have internally, and put it on the market and see what you do with it. But we also see, you see in the big tech industries, the companies that are most successful are really building products for a certain need, really strategically thinking about that. What is a good approach on that? And step by step, we're growing that landscape. It's not about the numbers. It's my gut feeling. It's really about how do you create high quality products for customers. If I look at partner APIs, it's much more about the bank wants to innovate together with fintech, wants to innovate with daughter companies, with big tech, etc. And it's much more on what is the strategy of the separate business lines that we're having, on the separate product lines that we're having, and how can they involve those partners to do that business. And not all those partner APIs are on the developer portal. It's often one-on-ones that we're creating, one-on-one relationships. But of course, you also need to have a proper landscape. And that's part of that culture shift. So what I see is that the bank and especially product owners in that sense need to start thinking about where do I want to go with innovation, and what is then the enabling landscape that I try to build. And in the past, we had central teams developing APIs, but it was much more about the numbers. We need to reach this numbers of APIs, and then we are perfect. but then you have a lot of APIs that are not used or are not of high quality, and really fitting APIs to your business culture, to your business strategy, transforming product owners to think in such a way that they treat those APIs as products. That is my goal for the next year, so that in the end we have a landscape that fits the business needs, business strategies, and where they want to go to. So move it away from technology alone into a business topic.
Oh, no, that's really interesting. Thank you. Filipe, one thing I wanted to come back and ask you a little more about was you mentioned your core banking system and your risk management system, and how you're managing upgrades. Your API platform is used to manage upgrades to those. I mean, how scalable is that? I mean, potentially, presume this is how all trading and risk systems and all risk systems, thinking also about Basel regulation here, FRTB, for example. There's potential for, if you forgive me, much larger banks than Illimity to use APIs for such upgrades. I mean, do you see it? Do you see the potential as scalable in that way?
I am convinced that yes, it is definitely, I think, the path to follow, because APIs are already very stressed in terms of volumes and in terms of performance requirements. The infrastructure below needs to be scalable, and we have a cloud partner that is already offering, let's say, elastic infrastructure that is able to provide us, let's say, solutions that are really adapted in terms of workload that we are facing. I really think that that the cloud providers are offering solutions that can be ad hoc on very adapted on the reality of the bank. And here I'm not only speaking about let's say technical aspects, but also in terms of compliance aspect, in terms of SLA respect from these providers.
Yes.
In the last couple of years, I saw a really huge evolution in terms of cloud providers meeting up at a certain point of what banks need to really have the cloud infrastructure as a commodity at a certain point. So yes, I would say I'm very, let's say, confident on the very next times that some players can assess a cloud migration.
Good. So Chay, a final question to you. So we've heard about from Filipe most recently here about the potential for development of APIs in the cloud as part of a more general transition. Can you just put some scale around this for us? I mean, what is the potential in improvement in data management that firms should be aiming for, facilitated by the cloud?
So I suppose it's utilizing both together. So obviously migrating to the cloud can help you scale, but I would say it's hand in hand. It's automation through APIs along with the cloud. We see our customers when they're embracing both of those and obviously utilizing Delphix to get to that situation. But that's when they've really, data becomes, it moves from becoming the slowest part of the value chain to actually data's not the slowest part now, and then it will move to somewhere else, and that might be part of the application depending on what your customers are trying to do and some of the features that you might want to implement. And I think I mean it's hugely important, and that's why being able to have Delphix run in any cloud, and also replicate between clouds is very important. So we can actually help customers avoid cloud lock-in. It was mentioned earlier. You know, we have the capability to move data very fast between clouds and on-prem as well. So yeah, I mean, it's hugely important. To me, it's without that, you're not gonna be able to compete, you know, with your competitors.
Okay. Well, we've got time for just one more question. We have a couple, but there's a question from Samuel Rodriguez Perez, and I'll put it actually to Koen, because Koen, I think you're probably best placed to answer this. The question is the standardization of API endpoints and their business logic behavior part of the scope of open banking, or is open banking just a guideline to improve collaboration across different businesses and financial services providers? I think I know the answer to this. It's more guideline, but what I don't know is how much, and thank you for the question, Samuel, is how much technical specificity there is in open banking legislation that the EU has completed.
But then also I'm working for a Dutch bank, so I don't have anything to do with the open banking legislation in the UK. For me, it's PSD2, which is the only current legislation requesting open APIs from banks. And from that perspective, what I felt with the implementation of PSD2, it has been an agile implementation of regulation, or agile creation of regulation. Because in the beginning, we requested standard guidelines for the development of our API, so we have clarity on what we should develop. But then for a lot of regulators, it wasn't about you should implement an API. It should be technology agnostic. Okay, but then what are we going to build then? And over time, you see that more and more the regulators also came to the impression, we need to implement more guidelines, else you will have a scattered landscape. And sometimes it's frustrating to see how that then is being implemented. What you currently see is that banks who implement it get feedback on their APIs to improve. That can be both from fintech or from regulators, but also what I see from my own bank is we embrace APIs as a future digital channel. So the things that we want to accomplish are not only for PSD2 APIs. We set guidelines and standards for our APIs as they are our new digital products. So it should be a smooth ride to upload certificates. It should be a smooth ride to get your error codes and good, clear documentation, because else our own business purposes for our own commercial APIs won't be successful as well. And that mindset that we have externally, that APIs are products, that's something that we also want to bring internally. So that's that culture shift. And then again, you need to set standards on documentation, on error codes, on resource models, on interfaces, etc. Because you want to build a proper landscape. And that is a lot of effort. It's not easy. It's a lot of culture, mindset, discussions, etc. So it's definitely not done in a year or so. It's really a granular, a long path that a lot of companies still need to go through.
Well, thank you. We're at our hour, just about. So thank you, Koen. Thank you, Filipe. Thank you, Nikhil, and thank you, Chay. This recording of this session will be available on our website shortly, within a day or so. So if you joined us late, you can watch from the start by visiting www.q8financial.com. And also, if you would like to find out a little bit more about Delphix, download some of the material, and talk to them one-to-one, just click on your timeline at the top left of your screen, and you can visit our virtual exhibition where Delphix has a stand. There's a blue button and you can start speaking to them using that. But thank you, gentlemen, very much for your time. Really do appreciate it. It's been a great panel and a great conversation. And I hope to be speaking to you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.